Now I'm going to show you how to make the hat. So you just need your red yarn that you're going to use. To make the hat, we're going to start with a magic circle. Just drape the yarn across your 4 fingers and use your thumb to stabilize. And then wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers twice and hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. And then you're going to bring up a loop, yarn over, and go through that loop for a slip knot. And now you're going to do 6 single crochet into the magic circle. And then we're going to close the magic circle like we've done before. Now you're going to do 2 single crochet into every stitch around for a total of 12, and then come back. Okay, then you can turn your work over and just pull on the center to close the magic circle, and then just take your yarn marker. And now we're going to do increase rounds. So we're going to do increases until you get to 1 single crochet in 3 stitches and then 2 single crochet in the 4th. So I'm going to go ahead and do this first one with you. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in 1, and then 2 single crochet in the 2nd stitch, and then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around to the yarn marker. And then on the 2nd row it'll be 1 single crochet in 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet in the 3rd, and then the 3rd row you're going to do 1 single crochet in 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 4th stitch, and then come back. This should be how your work looks now. And now we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch over, and then you're going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as your first double crochet. Now you're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch around. So 1 double crochet into every stitch around, and then come back. And I'll show you how to slip stitch it to the first double crochet. Now you can go ahead and do a slip stitch, and you're going to go to the top stitch of that first double crochet that you did. You're going to yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to do 2 more rows of 1 double crochet into every stitch, and then come back. You should have finished 3 rows of 1 double crochet into every stitch, and right now I have the wrong side facing me, so I'm going to turn it inside out. Now I have the right side. And I'm going to do a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's going to count as your first double crochet. And then I'm just going to turn my work. So now this is the right side facing me, and I'm just going to work this direction along the hat. And this is going to be an increase round. So this first chain 3 I did is going to count as my first double crochet. So in the next stitch over, I'm going to do 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around back to the beginning. So I'm going to do 1 more set with you. In the next stitch, I'm going to do 1 double crochet. And then in the 2nd stitch, I'm going to do 2 double crochet into the same stitch. I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. When you get back to the beginning, go ahead and do your slip stitch into that first stitch. Oops, see if I can get in there better. And then we're going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then you can take and bury your loose yarn ends. Just take your loose yarn end and put it through the tapestry needle and just weave it through the wrong side of the work, and then you just cut it. Go ahead and bury all of your loose yarn ends and then come back. And this is what the hat looks like so far. Now we're going to do the straps of the hat. So what I do is I just take the back seam. So here's the back seam of the hat. And I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just take your crochet hook and go through that stitch and loop up the yarn. Make sure that you leave enough on the inside that you can tie your knot and bury the loose yarn in. And then you're just going to yarn over and pull the yarn through the loop for a chain. Then just turn the work over and tie a knot. And now you're going to make a chain of 55. And I'm just going to do 4 of them with you on video. I'm going to yarn over and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead and finish doing 55, a chain of 55, and then you're going to count 8 over on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and do the same thing on the other side, making a chain of 55 on both sides. And then go ahead and just yarn over and pull the yarn through to finish off. And then for my ends, what I did was I just pulled the chain towards the hat, and that just makes a snug knot at the end of the strap. And then just cut about 1 centimeter or 2 away from the end. Now you have the straps on the hat, and you can take and bury your loose yarn ends. But this hat is the same as the female's hat, so I just used a different yarn, but it's the same pattern as I did for the fireman's hat. And on the female hat, I just took and weaved a ribbon through just above the brim of the hat. You can see how I put that around, and then I just tied a bow on the side, and I'll show you how to do the flowers on that later, but you can make the hat the same way. Now we're going to make the little pinch at the top of the fireman's hat. So you're going to take your tapestry needle with some red yarn, the same colored yarn, and make sure the right side is facing you. And this is the back, so go ahead and turn that to so you know where the back seam is. And then you're just going to take and pinch the top of the hat, and then take your tapestry needle and just go through. And I went down about the middle of the second row with my tapestry needle through to the other side. Make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end for tying a knot, and then just go a stitch over and tie your knot. And you just want to make a couple of stitches. Come out right where you went in the first time, and have your loose yarn in and tie another knot. And then you can just bury your loose yarn ends. And that way you have just a little bit of a blip at the top of the hat. Now I'm going to show you how to make the front of the hat. And I used, for the white portion, I used Yarn Bee Soft Secret, and it's just a white, shiny white color. And I'm going to start with a slip knot. So how I do that is I just fold it over on itself to form a loop, and then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for a slip knot. Now you're going to make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to hold that last chain with your middle finger and thumb. We're going to move up to the second row. So go ahead and chain 1. And then you're going to take your crochet hook and go into the second chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. And you're going to do a single crochet. And then you're going to do 1 single crochet all the way back to the beginning. And then come back. This is how your work should look. Now, we're going to move up to the next row. Go ahead and do a chain 1, and then turn your work. And here you can see at the base of that first chain 1, you have a little bit of an upslope. You're not going to go in that stitch. You're going to go into that first stitch over. And you're going to do a single crochet, and then you're going to do a single crochet all the way back to the other end, and then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn and do 1 more row, and then come back. So here you can see how my work looks after doing 2 more rows of 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now you're just going to turn your work, and then when you go into that next stitch with your crochet hook, you're going to yarn over, and then you're just going to pull the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to go into the next stitch and do a single crochet, and then you're going to do a single crochet into every stitch except for the last stitch, and in the last stitch you're going to do a slip stitch. So here's my last stitch. I'm going to go into that stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch, and then turn your work, and then you're going to go into that next stitch again, and you're going to do another slip stitch, and then you're going to do a single crochet across, and then in that last stitch you're going to do a slip stitch again. So here's the last stitch, and then you're going to turn your work, and you're just going to keep doing this: slip stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, and then you're going to do a slip stitch, you're going to turn your work, slip stitch, and then 1 single crochet, slip stitch, turn your work, and then you're just going to slip stitch. And then you're going to finish off. And just enough to bury into your work. And then you can see how it makes a nice pointed end. Now I'm going to do a border around the triangle with black yarn, and again I'm using the Yarn Bee Soft Secret black colored yarn. And I'm just going to start at the bottom. It doesn't matter where you start, I just think it's a little bit easier. And then I'm just going to use this white yarn, loose yarn end, to tie a knot. So you just go ahead and grab your new color and then hook it and bring it through. Make sure you leave enough loose yarn end for tying a knot. And then just yarn over and go through that loop for a chain 1, and then turn your work over and then just tie a knot with the 2 loose yarn ends. And now I'm going to take those 2 loose yarn ends because I'm going to bury them as I work. So I'm going to go into the next stitch over. I'm going to go behind both loose yarn ends. I'm going to bring up a loop with the new colored yarn. 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in every stitch all the way around. So when you reach the corners, you can do 2 single crochet as you turn up the side and do a single crochet, and then you can bury your other loose yarn in. But go ahead and do a single crochet all the way around, and then make sure you do 2 single crochets in each corner. That helps the triangle to lay flat and it won't buckle up and curl up on you. So as soon as you're done and you're back to the beginning, come back and I'll show you how to slip stitch and finish off. So now you can see how I have a nice border all the way around, and I'm going to do a slip stitch into my first stitch that I made. And then rather than finish off, I'm going to go ahead and do the white border, the last white border. So go ahead and grab, I used the same colored yarn, same type of yarn. And then I'm just going to hook it and bring it through the loop on my hook. And then I'm going to do a chain 1. And then turn the work over, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the black yarn because I'm done with that one. And then tie a knot. And now you can start crocheting the white border, and you're going to do it the same way. I'm going to go behind the loose yarn ends and bring up a loop, and then I'm going to do a single crochet into every stitch. Now as you go around the corners, you can do 2 single crochet in probably each of the 2 stitches around the corner, so you'll make it flat. See how it lays flat? Make sure as you're working around the corner that you put enough stitches to where your work will lay flat. And then when you reach the beginning, come back and I'll show you how to finish. Now I'm back to the beginning, so I can go ahead and do a slip stitch into that first stitch that I did. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish off. Yarn over and just pull enough yarn through to sew onto your hat. And now I'm going to show you how I made the 1 for the center. So if you want to put a number on your hat, I'm going to show you how I did that. I just made 2 chains. One is a chain of 6, and then one is a chain of 5. And then you just take your chain, and then you lay it down and arrange it how you want. So here, if you're making a 1, you would curve the top part of it down, and you would sew it in place with your tapestry needle. And then once you do the top part, sew the top part of the 1 down, then you take your second chain, lay it across, and then sew that one in place with your tapestry needle. But with my puppy, I'm just going to leave it blank. So I'm not going to sew the 1 on my puppy's hat. But if you want a 1 on your hat, you can do that. If you want a different number, you just make however long of a chain that you need, and then you just form the number, on your hat and then sew it in place with your tapestry needle. Now you're going to take your hat, make sure that you have the back, you know where the back is. This is the front of my hat. So I'm just going to take and line up. Make sure that when you line it up that the bottom is right along the brim. So this is the brim of the hat. So right at the top of it, you're going to line up the bottom. Make sure that you line it up straight the way that you want it. The top of the triangle should line up with the little pinched area that you sewed at the top of the hat. And then just take your tapestry needle and then just sew along the white portion all around the hat and then come back. So this is what the hat looks like on the puppy, and I tied it a little differently. So I just tied it from the back part. The hat went under the ears from the back to the front, and then I tied the knot or the bow on the top of the head and then covered the bow with the hat. But if you like it better where you go, you could put this strap from the front going to the back. You would just go into that stitch and then make your chain of 55 to go towards the front. But I kind of hid my bow underneath the hat and did it that way. Now I'm going to show you how to make the cute little flower that goes on the hat. Take whatever color that you want for your flower, and we're going to start with a magic circle. Just drape the yarn across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, and then wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers and hold it with your pinky and thumb. And then we're going to do our slip knot. Just bring up a loop, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for your slip knot, and then do 6 single crochet into the magic circle. And then take your 4-finger and thumb and then hold it at the base of the 6 single crochet, and then take and close the magic circle like we've done before. Now we're going to do a slip stitch into that first stitch. So go into the first stitch, and then you're going to yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to do a slip stitch in the same stitch. So go into the same stitch, and then you're going to yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to go into the next stitch over, and you're going to bring up a loop. You're going to do a single crochet, then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to go into the same stitch. You're going to yarn over, and then you're going to bring the yarn through both loops on your hook. So I'm going into the next stitch now. Do a single crochet, chain 3, you're going to do that in every stitch all the way around. And you can see how it's making little petals. You can see how I'm just bringing the hook up through both loops for a slip stitch. It's my last one. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch over. And then I'm going to finish off and just bring enough through so you can sew the flower onto the hat. And I left a little bit of an opening in the center, but you can close that if you don't want an opening on your flower. You just pull, like we've done in the past, just pull on your loose yarn end on the back and that'll close it up nicely. Now to make the collar, I'm using this pretty turquoise color for the girl dog, and I used the cherry red for the fireman collar, or fire dog I should say. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're just going to do your slip knot. So you just take your yarn, whatever yarn you're using for your collar, and just loop it over, put your crochet hook through the loop, and then you're going to hold it at the base with your middle finger and thumb, and then just yarn over and bring the yarn through the loop for the slip knot. And now you're going to make a chain, and you're going to make the chain for as big as you want your collar. So I'm just going to show you 4 chains. Just yarn over and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just make your chain and just measure it around the neck of your dog until you have the size that you want, and then come back. Now I made a chain of 45 for mine. So after you have the length that you want, go ahead and take your middle finger and thumb and hold that last stitch, and then make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as your first double crochet. And now you're going to do a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding with your middle finger and thumb. Just yarn over, go into that 4th stitch from the hook, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. And now you're going to do a double crochet into every stitch back across. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. So go ahead and finish doing 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way back to the beginning, and then come back. So this is how my work looks. And now, once you've finished doing your last double crochet in the last stitch, go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and bring enough yarn through to sew the collar together on the dog. Now you have to decide which way you want your collar showing, so make sure you have the right side facing out around the neck of the dog. And then you're just going to take your tapestry needle and you're going to line up the 2 edges of the collar. And then you just take your loose yarn end and go into that top stitch. That will bring the 2 pieces together. And then once it's together, pull it snugly, and then you're going to tie your knot. And then I usually just go a couple of times. And then you can bury your loose yarn end. But first, we need to get the other side. So then you take your other side that you left for sewing, and then you have to hook the bottom part of the collar and then pull the bottom snugly. So go ahead and tie a knot and then bury your loose yarn ends, and then your collar will be on your dog. Now for the puppy's collar, we're going to start with the slip knot in whatever yarn that you choose to do for your collar. And then just hold the base with your middle finger and thumb, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go whoop, Do that again. And then just go right through that loop for a slip knot. And then for mine, I measured around. You're going to do a chain. I'm just going to show you how to do a chain. Just yarn over and go through the loop. So I did 3, a chain of 3. I measured around my puppy's neck, and I'm going to do a chain of 22. So go ahead and do whatever size chain you need for your puppy's neck. Mine was a chain of 22. Now we're going to move up to the next row. So hold that last stitch you did with your middle finger and thumb and do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's going to count as your first double crochet. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. Go into that stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And now you're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch across. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. So go ahead and do a double crochet into every stitch all the way back across, and then come back. Your work should look like this. Now you're going to go ahead and just finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the ends together. Now you're going to take the right side of the collar, whichever way that you want your collar facing, and just put it around the dog. And then you're going to take your tapestry needle and you're going to take and sew the 2 pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. And then once I tie a knot, I'm going to take and bury the loose yarn end. And I'm going to bury the loose yarn end on the inside of the collar. So just kind of weave your tapestry needle through and then just cut your loose yarn end. And then you're going to take the other side that you left and you're going to sew the bottom. Make sure you don't twist your collar. And you're going to do the same thing. And then your collar will be sewn on. Now I just want to show a close-up of the dogs. So here's one of the puppies. And I'm naming this one Spot. And here's the back. And what's nice about Spot is the paws move up and down. And so do the legs. And then you can take the hat off. And this is what Spot looks like without his hat. And here's a close-up of the female puppy. And here you can see the hat. And from behind. And she also moves her paws and her feet. And then here is the big female dog. And you can see how pretty her eyes are. And her hat. And this is what she looks like from behind. And I made her design a little bit different so she doesn't, her legs don't move. She just sits up straight. And that's the same way that I made, and his name is Sparkles. He's got his little fireman hat. So he's the same way. He just sits also. Just turn him around. And then those are the dogs.